You're welcome.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Welcome to the beautiful downtown Sephardic temple, where tonight we are surprised. Where are you, Sephardi June? Ah, here's our one Sephardic man. Thank you so much for coming. Asfahani, Terani, Shirazi. Don't say Rashti. Okay, so folks, welcome. I can almost hear myself over your chatting. Can we start with hello? Testing, is this thing on? Okay. If you can see me or you can hear me, raise your hand. All right, the rest of you go home. Okay, so what a wonderful event to do on Hanukkah. We are here to celebrate Jews for Judaism. This is an important organization. The name itself tells you, Captain Obvious, Jews for Judaism. There's a banquet here next week for attorneys for billable hours. After that, we're having a banquet for Sephardi for adult children living at home. Followed by children for toys and candy. Next week, they're having a banquet over at the other place, Jews for JC. Because of the amazing work we're doing, they are running scared. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Listen, what they do here is important because what happens here is they promote Jewish identity. They promote critical thinking. They empower individuals to make smart choices when they're forced or faced with coercive non-Jewish activity. And this is more important than we would think. I am an award-winning screenwriter. Movies you may have seen or may not have seen. How many people saw Citizen Kane? It's a good movie. I did not work on that. Shrek 2, maybe, nominated for Academy Award. Thank you. More important than my work as a filmmaker is the fact that I spent 15 years as an evangelist in the Christian church, teaching youth groups, leading youth choirs, writing films and media for famous evangelists on college campuses. And thank God I got out. It was a miraculous story, and I'll tell you a little more about that later. We'll have some fun with that. I wandered into a church, met a nice Christian Presbyterian girl. We got married in the church under a chuppah with a Jews for Jesus rabbi. And thank God, within a few years, found my way out by miracle. We remained married, and she converted to Orthodox Judaism, and thank God, we are almost 24 years on this path. Jews for Judaism played an important role at a pivotal moment, which I'll tell you about later, but not everybody gets that miracle. And when that miracle doesn't come, that's when we need Rabbi Kravitz and his son, a father and son organization, again, a little bit like Jews for Judaism. Jews for Judaism makes, Jews for Jesus, which makes no sense. Jews for Jesus makes about as much sense as vegetarians for Burger King. Like, where exactly is that going, you know? So that's why we want to celebrate this, is there are a lot of souls out there who have not realized the beauty of Jews for Judaism. There are many Jews who are not for Judaism, who don't realize the beauty of their own tradition. They weren't educated in it. They didn't have a strong Jewish upbringing. They didn't get to enjoy the beauty of a real Hanukkah, of a great Shabbat. And for those individuals, it's very easy to wander out into the world and get lost in a wrong path for a Jew. And the result of that is a lack of joy, because we're designed as Jewish neshamas to have a rich, full life in our Judaism. And that's what the Kravitz and Sons, that's what they bring us. So we're going to celebrate that tonight, but we're going to kick it off first. We're going to have a lot of fun. There's some entertainment coming and some wisdom and some laughs. But first, we're going to light the menorah because it is Hanukkah. And we're going to light the lights all at the same height because all the Jews should be equal in each other's eyes. We're not going to get drunk before we light the menorah because we don't want to forget to light. For those of you who like to get drunk before you light your menorah, don't do it. For those of you who like to study Torah, we're not going to do that for a half an hour before we light the menorah because you might forget. So the crazy holy fanatics need to take a break, and the wild partying Jews with their partying need to take a break, and we all need to be on the same level. Yoni Weiss, are you here? Yoni Weiss is my father or my son, my brother. When I see him, I'll tell you what he is. He's a guy that I've never met. Never met him. He's going to come and light the menorah for us, and then we're going to have dinner. So please enjoy the lighting of the menorah. I don't know how you're going to do it. I'm not on the technical staff, but Ladies and gentlemen, Yoni Weiss and Rabbi Kravitz.
Hello.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam she'asa nisim lavoseinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh.
However, we are going to hear from Rabbi Zalman Kravitz, and I'll tell you just briefly a little bit about him. Rabbi Zalman is the executive director of the educational program at Jews For Judaism International. He created and launched multiple Jewish student leadership programs, which include Smart Choices Project, a curriculum to develop smart thinking skills, and an online community for Jewish millennials. Rabbi Zalman also established the Nonprofit Exchange, which is a collaborative community for Jewish nonprofits. Born in LA, Rabbi Zalman attended rabbinical seminaries in Florida, New York, and New Jersey, obviously chasing the weather. In the winter, he was in Florida. He spent his summers in Jersey on the shore, and he went to New York on weekends. He's got his ordination from the Rabbinical College of America. Rabbi Zalman has also earned a Master's of Business Administration at the American Jewish University, making his father doubly proud. Rabbi Zalman, where are you? Get up here, young man. We're talking about you.
I also get a pay raise.
Yeah.
Happy Chanukah, everyone. It is so nice to see so many people in this room, so many people who are passionate and care about the Jewish community. Tonight is the second night of Chanukah, and on Chanukah, we celebrate the dedication, or the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem so many years ago. And the message of Chanukah, where we celebrate the spreading of light, of inspiration throughout the world. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a moment to share a story of someone who turned to us for help and inspiration. It's about 11:30 at night, and I'm writing an ethics essay for the MBA program at AJU. Thank you, Rhoda. And I get a text message from a mother on the East Coast who finally was able to get all of her 11 out of 12 children into a conference call. Now, mind you, she's on the East Coast. It's 2:30 in the morning. This was the only time that she was able to get all of her kids, besides one, on the call. And they were deliberating, what do they do? Because the youngest sibling started to wander off the path. Started wandering on this journey of discovery and ended up in a mainline evangelical church. And she found a place that was experiential, fun, and so on, but ended up rejecting many of the core values and core ideas that she was brought up to believe in. And they didn't know what to do. Do we throw her out of the house? Do we tell her, look, it's all or nothing? What do we do? And some of the families, it's like 4 different factions, 11 kids, all say, I feel like it's, being torn in all different places. And after an hour and a half of this phone call and listening to all the different family members, the mother pipes up. She's silent the whole time. And she said, "My daughter will always be welcome in my home. I met yesterday with a therapist who's going to help me work with her so that she could become and continue to be a healthy person, because that is the most important thing." And at that moment, I was able to bring together all the different factions and rally behind this mother to support her in that choice that she made. And I believe that that one moment is an outlier moment, a moment that will change this girl's life forever. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, talks about the idea that there are events in people's lives, there are occurrences that happen all the time that could change a person's direction. It could propel them to success, just as Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. I believe that Jews for Judaism is in the business of Jewish outlier moments. It's our job to inspire others by just small acts of goodness and kindness, by caring, by sharing, by living inspired. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, would say that when 2 people come together and do a good deed or share a word of Torah, a word of wisdom, that all of creation was created for that one moment, that they could be in that physical spot and that they could elevate it. Combine that with Malcolm Gladwell's idea, all of creation was waiting for that one moment that we could inspire that one person. And the question is not whether we're doing it, but the question is recognizing it. And very often we do it, but we never hear back from the people that we have impact on. And tonight, I have the honor to introduce to you my friend, and over time has become a mentee, Danny Harper. Because one day, about 1.5 years ago, Danny tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Rabbi, you guys have impacted me." But I'm not going to put words into Danny's mouth. I'm going to call Danny up. Danny, come on. I'll let you say it in your own words. Thank you so much. Happy Chanukah.
Thank you. Oh, wow, I didn't know I was going to come up so fast. I was hoping a few more people would talk before me. All right, Hanukkah Sameach, everyone. My name is Danny Harper. I'll try to keep my little talk here relatively short. Like many good stories, mine starts with a girl. Our first date was magical. I remember looking at her for the first time, walk up to our table at the restaurant, giving her a hug, and being completely entranced by her sweet, kind eyes. Our conversation flowed from the beginning. I wanted to learn everything I could about her and make her laugh and smile. Each day we grew, and a relationship blossomed into a relationship of my dreams. A love and friendship neither of us had ever experienced. We could talk and hold each other for hours, and we did everything together. We were attached at the hip. I always believed in God. However, I grew up without Judaism in my life. Mom is a Jew, dad is not. My family is wonderful. I grew up engaged in outdoor activities and sports, all of which I loved and felt at home with. But religion was not a part of our family's dynamic. We would touch Judaism from the periphery several times a year with Chanukah, Pesach, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. But there was no real connection. I rebelled against my Judaism as a young boy. I identified with my eyes held down as a Jew. I didn't like being different, although I knew inside I was, and I kept Judaism at arm's length most of my life. As I got older and settled into my work as a Southwest pilot, my passion for running began to change into something that didn't fulfill my soul with purpose as it once had. Although I cherish being a runner still. Several years ago, while on a run, the word Judaism flashed in my mind, as things tend to do as a runner. I brushed it off, never thinking it was the first still small voice from God asking me to bring Him into my life. I met my girlfriend shortly after this experience. Little did I know my life was forever to change. You see, she is a beautiful, devoted, deeply spiritual Christian girl. Her faith makes her the beautiful person she is inside and out. It grounds her, it's her identity, and it's her life. And I was so profoundly moved by her and her faith that I love her most because of it to this day. I realized faith was what I was missing in my life, and from there, my journey began. I began going to church with her, studying the Bible together, praying together. I began reading Christian books like Mere Christianity and learning about Christianity online. Pursuing God and faith began to give my life a deeper meaning that I was thirsty for. It also brought her and I even closer. And I loved sharing faith with her, and it gave our relationship strong roots. And I knew if I became a Christian, I could marry the love of my life. But as time went by, my soul was not able to fully accept the foundational beliefs of the Christian faith. My soul hurt as I pondered and tried harder to accept Christian beliefs. I prayed for a personal revelation that would change my heart and allow me to change. But at some point, I finally had to be honest with myself and understand why Jews, like me, have stayed Jewish for the last 2 millennia. I just had to know. And so it was that I found Jews for Judaism while researching online. I watched many Jews for Judaism videos on YouTube. I reached out to Rabbi Zalman Kravitz, and he spent many hours listening to everything that was going on in my life. I felt God pushing me to search for Him and truth, all the while resisting what the rabbis had to say because it was going to end my relationship and future with my love. But relatively quickly, I acquiesced, and through my learning with Jews for Judaism, it became clear what I would be giving up if I didn't listen to my Jewish soul. Instead, I realized the truth and beauty of the Jewish faith. I learned of the influence Jews had on the world at large. A tiny global people of which I was a part reached every aspect of Western civilization, culture, and beyond. I began to realize my ancestors had devoted their entire lives to God, holding close their Jewish faith and the pain and sacrifice they must have endured at times in history. I learned that Judaism taught that every human being is made in the divine image, every face equally precious and infinitely valuable. I realized we represent the hope for freedom and equality for the world under God's trust through learning and education. I realized the dignity and respect the Torah demands of us towards others. And I finally realized that we're the only nation God revealed Himself to all at once. And when I learned this, I finally knew I had found truth. 8 months after our first date, I broke down and told her that I would never be a Christian. It was the second most excruciating day of my life. I wanted her to continue this journey together. and we tried, but ultimately I was taking her life away from her by hoping she would change. She is perfect as she is. Then came the most excruciating day of my life, the day I ended our relationship. I cannot express the pain we both endured, but I'm confident both of us will come out of this stronger than we can possibly imagine. That was about a year ago, and also the beginning of my Jewish journey. Now I am Shomer Shabbos. I pray 3 times a day and wrap tefillin, and I'm working on keeping kosher. But most importantly, I continue to learn about this phenomenon called Judaism and deepen my connection with God. I feel a responsibility to live a Jewish life. The more I learn, the more it is clear the world needs Judaism. People of other faiths and cultures admire Jews who take Judaism seriously. We can and do make a difference. We have a unique mission in the world. The world needs our testimony of hope. Judaism needs more Jews to connect with our faith and spirituality. I believe Jews for Judaism is a critical part of this purpose. Now I'm proud to be a Jew. Looking upward and outward, I look at each and every one of you as an eternal flame, one that cannot be put out. Thank you.
Give me all of you. Cards on the table, we're both showing hearts. Risking it, although it's hard. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges. All your perfect imperfections. If you're all to me, I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I give you all of me. And you give me all of you. 'Cause I give you all of me. And you give me all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Put that last bite into your mouth and swallow. And may I have your attention? May I have your attention, please? So, This isn't davening, people. Please. Those of you who go to Young Israel know what I'm talking about. Okay. Not to call anybody out. So, about a year after I decided to leave the church, which was a very painful decision because 15 years into being a churchnik, I had really bet my life on that. I had committed my life to this path of Christianity, and all my friends were there. I believed that my salvation from hell was there. I had fought my parents and my siblings. Although oddly, when I was in the church, I actually took my sister out to breakfast one day and told her that if she married this Jewish man that she was thinking about marrying, because she was also a Christian, 3 of my siblings of the 5 converted at one point to Christianity. And I took her to breakfast and I said, Susan, I love you dearly and I love Stuart, but if you marry this Jewish guy, that's a sin. And they make fun of me to this day about that breakfast, because I'm now the only Orthodox guy in the family. It's, David, do you have to be so Jewish? You know, they're glad I'm back. But so about a year after leaving the church, they sent people after me to try and bring me back in, because when you're high profile, it doesn't look good. And I remember there was a dinner at El Torito. because I wasn't really keeping kosher yet. I was just not going to church, and I was starting to go to shul. I hadn't even heard of shul. I'd heard of synagogue, but shul, what is that? They said, well, come at 10:30, and I went there, and if I'd known they started at 8:30, I would never have gotten involved. The rabbis trick you into this, right? And then they said, come for Shabbos lunch, and they said it like that, Shabbos, come for Shabbos. They spit all over me. Like, I'd heard of the Sabbath and Shabbat, but what is Shabbos? It's the day of rest. Your mouth just goes to sleep, I guess. And then I get there, and there's the beautiful table, and I said, it looks like Christmas dinner. Do you guys do this every year? And they're like, oh, no, we do this every week. I'm like, they have a lot of energy, these Orthodox Jews. So I went, and the children, their faces were just alight, and the parents, they said they were shepping nachas. But I thought they said they were schlepping nachos. And I'm like, I love nachos, so I want to keep doing that. And I got kind of depressed because it was beautiful. But when you see something so beautiful, but it's far away, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't be one of these crazy religious Jewish people because I like to drive on Saturday. It was my favorite day to drive. And I like lobster. And I'm a writer, so I'm competing with people who are writing 24/7. Some of them coked up out of their minds. They're typing like this. I'm going to go, I can't come in on Saturday because I got to have lunch all day long. I can't, Friday night, I got to have dinner with my people, you know? But so this year out of the church, I was kind of in that middle place where I'd started to keep kosher kind of in the house. My wife talked to this Chabad rabbi who showed up in our driveway with a blowtorch from the Korean War, and all of our utensils. I was just waiting for his beard to go up, you know? And he's like, David, I can't make this kosher. And I'm like, no, because you melted it into the driveway. And my little Swedish Christian Jewish wife is like, honey, please don't trafe up the kitchen. Trafe? Well, who are you? We continued down that path, but this year in, we're in that middle place, you know, where you start to eat out. You have fish out, and you have next to the lobsters, and you have pizza with the pig resin and the cheese, and you have the salad with the bugs, and you start parking further and further from the shul, because the more you walk, the holier you are. At one point, we parked so far away, I was like, isn't that our house? Like, so the Christians sent this guy who allegedly was an Orthodox Jew who had become a Christian. And he was going to explain to me why I should not be involved with these crazy Jewish people, and I should come back to the church where I belonged. So I went to see Rabbi Kravitz, who I had heard about. And I said, look, I'm kind of frightened. I'm going to this dinner at El Torito, and I'm going to talk to an Orthodox Jew who's a Christian. And he said, let me tell you something. There are no Orthodox Jews who are Christians. They're going to tell you that he's a traditional guy who probably his parents didn't allow pork in the house in Great Britain. He won't know the bracha over a watermelon. And I looked Rabbi Kravitz in the eye and I said, there's a bracha over a watermelon? And he told me that. So I went to El Torito, and the guy literally asked me, what's the bracha over these chips, right? And I said, well, that's easy, because I had been raised with a little tiny bit of Judaism. Food is motzi. Anything liquid is borei pri hagafen. And he said, oh, great. So we said motzi over the chips at El Torito, and God kind of went, ugh. But because I knew that, because I knew a few other things that Rabbi Kravitz told me, I basically asked this guy a question when I started pointing out that Judaism answered the question about already what do you do when someone does miracles, but asks you to not keep these commandments that God said are forever. Why aren't you keeping the Shabbos? I asked this guy, Shabbos. And at the end of the dinner, I'd given the guy apparently a little bit of a nervous breakdown, because I was learning about Judaism from people like Rabbi Kravitz. And I was beginning to have a Jewish education, which led to me within a couple of years beginning to keep kosher with my wife fully and beginning to keep Shabbos fully. And that guy was supposed to schedule another meal with me to continue bringing me back. And I heard back from my Christian best buddy who said the guy apparently got sick and they hadn't seen him in a long time. And I don't think that's a happy story, but I knew that he was troubled because he was a Jewish soul. And he looked at it the way I looked at it. This is beautiful, but it's too far away. But it's not too far away when someone like Rabbi Kravitz or his son can sit with you and give you critical thinking skills and can give you a way to make smart decisions with smart choices and these programs. And these are crucial. It doesn't take a lot to depress a Jew. Yes, Judaism looks far away, and when something's beautiful and it seems far away, that seems depressing. Look, with a famous joke about the Jewish optimist and the Jewish pessimist, right? The Jewish pessimist says things can't get any worse. And the Jewish optimist says, sure they can. Just wait a little while. It'll get much worse. With Jews for Judaism, it gets much better for so many people that would not be reached any other way. That's why we're here tonight, and I'm thankful to all of you for coming and showing your support for this amazing organization. We have a moment with Happy Hanukkah to support them just a tiny bit more, and then I'm going to bring up Rabbi Kravitz. And by the way, just so you know, in Hollywood and Broadway, they say the opening song, the job of the opening song is really to tell the audience when you get to go home. Really, when the boy gets the girl, you know, when the corn is as high as the elephant's eye. We'll tell you, right? So just so you know where we're holding, we're going to do this little business where you can get another Hanukkah present to take home. And then I'm going to bring up Rabbi Kravitz, and he's going to introduce the honoree and of blessed memory. And then you get to eat dessert and go home. So that's where we're holding. Pretty quick. We're almost done. So here's the deal. The silent auction is closed. But for the few people who may want to take home something special, we're going to give you one last chance. People like the Disneyland thing. So anybody that wanted the Disneyland, and where we're holding right now on that is Jack Chanukah. Hey, Jack, you're at $350. Would anybody like to take that away from Jack? This is your chance to make Jack a little less happy or make him pony up a little bit more and really do something for Jews for Judaism. And I think, Jack, you're okay with that, aren't you? Jack gives me his permission, a little bidding war. Can anybody help get me? This thing is worth $250. We're already at $350. I'm sorry, it's valued at $628. It's the family. Take the family out, providing your family is only a family of 4. So it really becomes sort of a who gets voted off the island. If you've got 6 people, someone's staying home. But meanwhile, is anybody else interested in the Disney thing? We're at $350. The next, I need a $50 increment. Anybody say $400? $400. Do I get $450? $450. Do I hear $450? Let's go. Disneyland is a fabulous time. Let me hear $450. $450. Let's go to $500, ladies and gentlemen. It's a $628 value. And let's go home and have dessert. Let's do this quickly. I need $500 over here. $500. Do I hear $550? $550 going not at all. $550. $550 going towards dessert. $550, $550. I'm going to go all night. I want $600. I'm not stopping. I'm not shutting up till you give me $600. Do I hear $600? Jack, do you want it? Come on, baby. Let's go back. It's still worth having. It's Hanukkah. Where am I holding? Am I getting 500? Is that what I was looking for? I don't even remember. $500. I wanted 600. What did I want? I don't remember. Where am I? Somebody tell me. Who's keeping track? We're 500 and Jack's back for 500. 550? I feel like we did 550 already. Didn't we? All right, going once. Do I hear $600? Do I hear $600? Going once and a half. Do I hear $600? Do I hear $600? Does anybody know the blessing over watermelon? Do I hear $600? 550, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, thank you so much. What are you saying no about? Oh, it's 5? All right, fine, it's Hanukkah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Jack. Well done. Okay, real quickly. Folks, we got the Staples suite, a luxury suite. What? You're both 5. Oh, well, I need 550. Ladies and gentlemen, I said I needed 550. You're both at 5. Who was at 5 most recently? It's 5 over here, Jack. You got to go to 550. Thank you.
Little background music.
No, I'm not doing that. Who's going to 550? Come on, Jack. Over here, come on, you want it. It's only $100 more than you were saying before. That's nothing. Take it away from him. Happy Hanukkah to you. Mickey Mouse is going to be there, and his uncle Mikvah Mouse. Mikvah Mouse. M-I-K-V-A-H-M-O-U-S-E. Mikvah Mouse. Mikvah Mouse. You know he'll never look directly at your spouse. Anybody? Okay, guys, I gotta have a tiebreaker here. Okay, it's going once, going twice, 550. Whoever's keeping records, get this name over here, 550. Ladies and gentlemen, stop the music for a second there, Brad. Cut it out, thank you.
Doing the Mickey Mouse Club for you.
That's all right, I got it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Staples Suite, worth $2,500. Starting bid was $750. We're at $1,200. That's Joey. I can't read your name. Joey, where are you? $1,200, Joey. Okay, who wants to take the Staples Suite away? It's a Staples Suite, VIP parking for 2, and a $100 gift certificate, no, $90 gift certificate to Jeff's Gourmet, so you get to take your dinner. Who's going there for me? I need $1,250. I need $1,350. $1,350 for Staples Suite. Going once. Bingo. Thank you. What's your name, sir? Bruce Friedman. I love you, Bruce Friedman. You are my hero. $1,350. Who will take me to $1,500? $1,500. Fantastic. Who will take me to $1,650 going to the Staples Suite? You can probably take 2 big SUVs full of people. I'm at, what am I at? What number am I at? 1,500 over here. What do you got? No? 1,500. What am I at now? 1,650? 1,650, ladies and gentlemen. It's 1,800. 1,800, fantastic. I love you guys. 1,800, who will take me to 1,950? 1,950, 1,950. It's a good year. 1,950. Ladies and gentlemen, let's break the 1,950 is $2,100. Who will take me to 2,100? We're at 1,950. $2,100 for the Staples Suite. 2 VIP. $2,100. VIP parking. 2 SUVs full of people. $90 worth of Jeff's Gourmet sausages. So that's it. Where are we at? We're 2,100. Who will take me to 2,250? Bruce, are you there? 2,250? No. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, going once, going twice. $2,100. Whoever's back there, go get his name. Don't mess around. That's fantastic. I think we're done with the auction, right? Okay. That finishes up the auction portion of our evening. You guys are fantastic and very patient. Thank you. Let's introduce Rabbi Kravitz, I think. Folks, this rabbi who taught me the bracha over a watermelon and helped me bring down this poor Jewish Christian guy from London, and God willing, he found his way back eventually. This guy's the executive director of Jews For Judaism. He's been on television and radio programs around the world. All denominations of Judaism refer people to Rabbi Kravitz when they're stuck on a question about how do you deal with a missionary. He's got one of the highest success rates of anyone going for bringing Jews back home from a cult or from a Christian experience or from a religion that isn't their home. His Jewish response to missionaries has printed over 325,000 copies, 320 of which are still in his house. No, God forbid. 9 different languages. He's the chaplain and advanced critical incident counselor for the Sheriff's Department of Los Angeles County. He is a reserve police officer, and he packs a weapon. He's an advanced trained gun expert. In fact, when the Jews for Jesus see him coming with that gun, they say, "Jews for Jesus, that's a big gun." That's what they say. His hobbies include, besides long walks on the beach and pina coladas, guns, scuba, martial arts, skiing, and guitar. He once saved a Jew from being taken by Christian missionaries while underwater, skiing with a gun and using martial arts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my hero and yours, Rabbi Ben-Zion Kravitz.
You know, I'm all into telling true stories. Sometimes I embellish them a little bit. But after that, how can you tell a joke? But I must tell you, working up toward this wonderful event had a lot of highlights, a lot of challenges, especially when Zalman said, you've got to put everything for the auction in your car, make 3 different stops before you go over to the temple to drop them off, and everything's packaged beautifully, right? And I'm driving down Pico, and this police car pulls me over. And I said, what happened? He said, we saw all the presents and your white beard, and we figured you're Santa Claus. And I said, ho, ho, ho. I immediately paged Jim McDonald, sheriff of Los Angeles County, and I said, can you help me out? He took care of it. Not true, but fun. Okay. I do want to welcome you all to this evening. I know many of your names from almost having a panic attack doing the seating yesterday. But most of all, I hope, more than anything, that what we're accomplishing this evening won't end now. That we'll all become friends and partners together. There's so many people to thank, including my wife, Devorah, who I couldn't do this without her, Zalman's wife, Chani. I love the fact that when we did our first banquet, Zalman was that little baby crying in the back. And now he's running the show, and now we have another baby crying, so maybe that's the next generation after that. And there's so many people that volunteered, the committee that helped. I could list so many names. We did put them up on the journal. I'm going to talk a little bit later about Jews for Judaism, but I wanted to tell a true story and use that to lead up to our first presentation. A number of years ago, I received a call from a retirement home for the elderly near Culver City. The owner, a Jewish man, but not involved in the Jewish community, was in an absolute panic. It turns out that one of the staff members was a member of the Tony Alamo cult. You may have heard of him. Crazy guy, but very, very dangerous and deceptive cult. And unknown to everyone at the facility, this cult member was speaking to one of the elderly people in the facility. To the point that when the family found out that this deceptive proselytizing was going on, this religious coercion, taking advantage of a woman who was 94 years old, the owner panicked. And he didn't know what to do. And I'm not really sure how he found me. If I recall, I think he did give money to the Variety Club. Remember the Variety Club? And Charlie Ziman of blessed memory, who was one of our original board members, was very involved there. That's Dick Ziman's dad. And he called me up and he says, can you help this woman? We've got to undo this. Now mind you, this woman, it didn't matter whether she was Jewish or not. She was just feeling coerced. So I went over, and as we talked, I asked her, what was compelling about what this person said? And she answered that the cult leader, who they deify, this Tony Alamo, just like the cults used to do with Reverend Moon, it's very tangible. I need something tangible to believe in. Judaism's God. How do I see God? What's God? Where's God? And I didn't know what to answer. I closed my eyes for a second, and I hoped that I would find something inside of myself to respond. And it came to me. Our next generation of Jews for Judaism over there. I love it. Great. This is what I said. Think of a metal that's very precious that everybody wants. I'm sure you're all thinking copper. No, that's what they steal now in the front yards. Gold. It's very precious. It's very valuable. It's very heavy. It's very tangible. And it's not, but there's not a lot of it. But people crave gold. But you could live your whole life and never, ever come into contact with gold and have a happy, cheerful life. Now think of the element that is the least tangible, but most necessary for us. And she said, air. We can't go more than a few minutes without air. I said, isn't it interesting? The thing that's very tangible, that people crave, isn't really important. But the thing that's almost invisible that we take for granted, and I'm sure all of you in this room will admit, until this moment you didn't think about the air you're breathing unless you were in the fires and thinking about that. But it's not tangible. So I said, you don't need something tangible to find something that's close. Something that's intangible can be everywhere. The smile on that lady's face just permeated through me. I just felt it. It was amazing. And it just was the answer she needed at that moment. Now, why did I choose that story for this evening? This evening we're presenting our Community Service Award to Yaakov and Rami Isaacs. And I've known them for a number of years. They probably don't want me to speak more than 10 more seconds about them because they are that kind of people that they don't like the limelight on themselves. But because they believed in Judaism and they believe in community, they accepted this honor to help Jews for Judaism. That's real chesed. And they help many other organizations. And if you read in the invitation, you can see the different organizations that they're involved in. They help distribute food for people who need it for Shabbat. But I came to really know them because I saw something special in one of the loves of their life. They have a retirement home that my mother is in, as well as some other people that are in this room. Brad, right? And what's special about their facility, it's like being at home. You're not in a facility. You're in a place of love and warmth and caring. And when people are elderly, like that woman that I mentioned in the story, and they're so vulnerable, to find people who go beyond what's necessary to show love and compassion and warmth and care and make it, everybody know the word hamish? To make it hamish. And to provide them at even challenging work to make everything kosher, it's beyond what you can imagine. So when you combine that unique contribution that they make to this community, along with the chesed, the kindness that they do in so many ways, I really, for this year, could think of no other couple that I would want to give the Community Service Award, because that is really a community service, because we tend to forget the elderly. But the elderly, like young children, are vulnerable, and we need to do everything to help them. So I'd like to call Yaakov and Rami to come up to present them with the Community Service Award.
Kravitz and the entire Jews for Judaism staff and his son for doing a tremendous job, and Kadosh Baruch Hu should give you a lot of hatzlach and bracha to continue on behalf of the work you do for Klal Yisrael, and seeing people like David Harper and David Weiss, really, really inspirational, and just tremendous mazel. Thank you very much.
please be patient with me for this next part. Today is the second night of Chanukah. We lit 2 beautiful candles. And our sages, based on the words of King Solomon, say that a candle flickers in the same way that a soul flickers. Because in truth, the soul wants to be united with the absolute truth of God. But it's held down in this world for a mission, to accomplish things. And for the last 11 months, along with other people, I was privileged to be able to say Kaddish every day for my friend David Rifkind. And yesterday was the end of the 11 months. So if people were wondering why we chose to do this commemoration this evening, because it's the day after the 11 months. Our sages tell us that at different stages during the year after a person's soul returns to his maker, that the soul is going up on higher spiritual levels. And the day after we finish saying Kaddish is a special day for the soul. And one of the things that I'd like to share about David, not many people know about this because he would do this when we would go and have kind of private lunches and stuff. He'd always ask me challenging questions. He always came up with the hard ones about questions of faith. And so I feel it's appropriate to mention what I just said about the soul going up, because that is an issue of faith and belief in the soul, faith and belief in life continues on in the same way that matter can never be destroyed, the soul can never be destroyed. And our mission is to take this to heart. King Solomon is described as the wisest of all men for a reason. And if you just read the things that were recorded in his name, it's amazing. But one of the things he said is, "Hachai yitein aliba," that the living need to take to heart when we experience something that's very painful for us. And we have to move forward, and that's what the soul wants. So part of this evening is to honor David, his legacy, and to move forward. So our sages say about our father Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that Yaakov really didn't ever pass away. He's still alive. How can Judaism say that someone's still living? So our sages say because that person lives on through their children and through their good deeds and through everything that people do in their merit. So I'd like to call up, before I speak a little bit more, David's son Jonathan to say just a few words to you.
I know the urge to clap, but obviously it's not necessary. Hello, most of you, I know some of you, more of you know me. I'm best known for being paid to be wrong about sports on the radio. That's basically all I can offer about myself. But it's interesting because I was asked a couple months ago, how do you define your father's legacy? How do you quantify the legacy of someone who is now passed? They've journeyed through the labyrinth of life, and after their passing, what have they left behind that is of value both to you and to the world? After a long time pondering, I finally had my answer. And once I figured that out, I also realized that each and every one of you plays a very big part in maintaining that legacy moving forward. I'm not gonna lie, my dad did pretty well for himself. He was fortunate to indulge in some of the luxuries that life had to offer. But you know the difference between how he utilized these luxuries versus how other people utilize these luxuries? Not only did he never lose sight of what was truly important to him, his family, his community, and Judaism, his religion. But he found ways to incorporate these aspects into the experiences that he had within these luxuries. When he was ready to put on that sailor's hat and hit the open ocean, he never once went without inviting about 30 or 40 people, most of whom never met each other, never had any association. He wanted people to meet each other, have the experience, and in the end, you come away with a good experience, you make new friends, and you may even get a business partner or two out of it. He didn't name the boat with some dumb sea pun. He called it kulanu, which is the Hebrew term for all of us. This boat quickly became an embodiment of not the person that he wanted to be, but of everybody, the world that he wanted to see. He strongly believed in the Jewish mission of building a Kehillah Kadoshah, a holy community. And he used this boat, this kulanu, as an opportunity to begin that mission, to build a Kehillah Kadoshah. So this boat didn't just become a metaphor for him, but for all of us. About a year ago, as he was getting ready to get his pilot's license, my dad put a tiny plane on hold, one that he could fly for fun and further learning. I still remember the smile brimming from ear to ear on his face when he told me that the tail number he put down on hold was 613 MS, or 613 mitzvot. The reason he told me that he chose that tail number was because he believed in spreading goodness no matter where you go, and he wanted to make sure that he was always reminded of his job to complete these mitzvot and spread goodness wherever he flew. The reasons I'm highlighting these specific examples is because experiences that many people take for granted, my father not only always appreciated, but found a way to keep the true meaning of being Jewish alive within these experiences. Community, family, and Judaism were so important to him that he went beyond just incorporating them in his everyday life and incorporated them into not so everyday activities and experiences. Something a lot of people don't do. Most people use those occurrences that aren't so often to kind of create an escape. He did it as a way to broaden his horizons and the horizons of people that were close to him. As many of you may or may not know, my sister Jillian is one of the world's pickiest eaters, or at least she was, and she's giving me a death stare right now, but back in the day, if you looked up the phrase, "no thank you," her picture would actually pop up on Google. So to get my sister to try the new foods, my dad coined the phrase, "take a no thank you bite." But this phrase quickly moved from being just about food to being more about life. How do you benefit a world if you are afraid to go out of your comfort zone? These experiences, the no thank you bites of life, taught my father that there is a lot more to people, to this world, than just the little bubble that we're so accustomed living in. He would go out, learn, and find ways to create a positive outcome from his experiences, but not a positive outcome that would benefit him, but rather everyone else. For 13 years, he was involved in this incredible organization, Jews For Judaism. As the chair of the board, he helped refine and implement the organization's message to empower Jews to rediscover their heritage and strengthen their Jewish identity. I am personally honored that my dad will live on through the David Rifkind Legacy Fund, which will support the initiatives that were important to my father, helping those who can't help themselves, help strengthen the Jewish community, and secure a Jewish future. On this Hanukkah, as the lights shine bright, my father's neshama shines even brighter. Each and every one of you has the ability to carry on this legacy, and all you need to do are three things. Number one, make sure that family comes first. Be there with them, show them how important they are to you, because in the end, family is truly almost all that matters. Number two, help expand our Kehillah Kadoshah, our holy community. Go out and say hi to neighbors, get to know strangers, find ways to bring people together no matter what. Smile, be open, because you never know what you may learn or who you may meet. Number three, find ways to incorporate Judaism into your everyday lives in hopes of creating a world where the Jews are stronger and more united than ever. In doing these three things, you are not only carrying on the legacy of David Rifkind, but also working to make the world a better place. And in the end, both of those go hand in hand. I also want to thank the Kravitzes and all of Jews for Judaism for putting on this wonderful and meaningful gala, and I want to wish you all a happy Hanukkah and a Chag Sameach.
You heard about how David was involved with Jews for Judaism as our board chair in 13 years. As I looked at the many ads that were put in our journal for David, there were a lot of different words that were used to describe him. Friend, mentor, a faithful partner, role model, passionate person, respected person. I'm going to add a word to that nobody threw in, but I'm sure you were thinking. Playful. David was playful. Every time I was in my car and the phone would ring, and I would see it was David calling, and I'd answer the phone, he'd say, "Is this Rabbi Sheriff Kravitz?" Rabbi Sheriff. He just couldn't get over the fact that I was a rabbi and I was a reserve deputy sheriff, and he always called me that. In fact, I just shared yesterday with Jim McDonald, the sheriff of Los Angeles County, about David. I invited him to come as our guest because I said, what better way? We'll have Sheriff McDonald introduce Rabbi Sheriff Kravitz. But he told me to say the following. Rabbi Kravitz is always available to be there for our employees and for members of the community during difficult times. I'm honored to call him a friend. And I think that's what David would say also. I'm honored that David was my friend. And I want more than anything to keep his legacy going. You know, we celebrate Chanukah. Chanukah commemorates the rededicating the lights in the temple. Many people are not aware. Any architects in the room? Any architects? Okay, 5 over there, 12, no. The windows of the temple were designed very interestingly. They were wide on the outside and narrow on the inside, which is not the best way to light up a building pre-electric or LED lights. You do it the other way. So why were the windows that way? Why is it specifically pointed out? So our sages say because the light of the menorah was not meant to enlighten the temple, but to shine light to the world, to Jews and non-Jews alike. That's why Isaiah said this will be a house of prayer for all people, not just Jews. So even though you may have heard about Jews for Judaism and dealing with religious coercion by certain evangelical groups, many of the people that come to us for assistance and help, they're not Jewish. They're looking for answers. They're looking for someone that will listen to them, to give them the time of day, to answer their questions. Our YouTube channel has 200 videos. Last year we had 3 million hits. 3 million hits. And I have to give credit to our partners in our Toronto office, Rabbi Michael Skobak and Julia Sis, who are actively involved together with us. David was a partner. He saw Jews for Judaism as his baby. When I first met him, he said, that's an organization I want to help build. I want, as a legacy to David, that all of you should think of yourselves as partners, together with us and together with David. If you look on the table, you'll see and find a flyer. It's folded in half, and there's a reprint from the Jewish Journal this week. And it is a story, and it really ties in to something about the Rifkind family and David. And if you read the story, I'm not going to summarize it. My wife and I were in Israel, and there was a protest against the opening of stores on the Sabbath. There were ultra-Orthodox Jews on one side and secular Israelis on the other side, and they're yelling and screaming at each other. And I wake up from my afternoon nap, I run up to see what's going on, and I go over to the ultra-Orthodox, and I say, stop saying Shabbos at these people. Because that's what they were chanting. I said, why don't you say Shabbat Shalom? Why don't you say, come to my house for Shabbos? Didn't go anywhere. So I went over to the secular Israelis, known as Chilonim, and I said, Shabbat Shalom. Let's stop fighting and come up to our apartment and we'll enjoy Shabbos together. And I turned around, and as I looked back, there were 12 secular Israelis following me, walked into the building, came up, I walked in, I said, Devorah, we need more chairs, we need all the food we have. And for several hours, we sat and sang songs and told stories and drank a lot of scotch. It was great. Everybody had a good time, and that's what Judaism is about. It's about showing love. It's not about attacking people and putting people down. We need to win hearts through loving them, not by attacking them. And it ties into David, because David loved coming to our home for Shabbat. I can see his face right now as he would walk up the front stairs, this big smile. Rabbi Sheriff Kravitz, we're here. And one little playful thing that David did that many of you may not know is we would sit at the table and we'd be telling stories, and the kids really grew up in our home a lot, right? And we had these shot glasses for toasting l'chaim. And we'd bring a bottle of whiskey to the table or something like that, or wine. And I'd have my cup there, and I'd be talking to someone at the table. And I'd turn back, and the cup was full. It's like a Chanukah miracle. The oil kept filling up. My cup just kept filling up. I drink a shot. I turn around. 5 minutes later, the cup is full again. David said, I don't know. It keeps getting full. David was this playful. He just loved it. That was something special. He was always filling that cup up to say l'chaim. My cup is not half full from knowing David Rifkind. My cup is overflowing. My cup is overflowing from knowing David Rifkind. And this logo that's on the bottom of the second page that describes the programs that we are going to launch and have during 2018 with the use of the funds from the Legacy Fund, including a critical thinking educators seminar, a TED-style event called Smart Talks for college students, expanded free counseling for people, more videos, more social media outreach, and an East Coast lecture tour are all things David wanted. That's what he wanted. That's his legacy. So if you look at the logo, I want to point out something. I have to give Rabbi Zalman Kravitz credit because he helped design this. This logo consists of the top of a Mont Blanc pen, which was one of David's favorite, and his signature, which goes on. A legacy is something that goes on. It doesn't stop. And that's what we're going to do. So I want to invite you to not just remember David tonight, but every day of your life remember and live with the values that he believed in, the way he cherished Judaism. We will continue our part, and with your ongoing support, if anybody wants to continue in a month or so, there's envelopes on the table. You can take them and send something in later. But most importantly, here's what I want to do. This is how I want to end this part of the evening before everybody goes out to the most amazing dessert buffet you've ever seen. And here's what, everybody take a cup and someone else fill it up when they're not looking. So if there's wine on the table, Zalman, do we have any of that whiskey? Oh, we got, bring me a whiskey. Zalman, l'chaim. So everybody fill up a glass. Do it to someone who's not watching. And we're going to say the bracha on wine again in case you didn't say it. And we're going to toast l'chaim to life, to David, to Judaism, and to his legacy. Everybody together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim. So Jonathan, would you mind coming up just for a second again? Just for a second. I just wanted to give this on behalf of Jews for Judaism and our board of directors and members of our executive board. I want to thank also the Brams, who were very active in being co-chairs of this event, along with the Teichmans. And this beautifully designed presentation has the David Rifkind Legacy Fund logo with Jews for Judaism's logo imposed in the middle of the star. And it says, "A life of good deeds, virtue, and sincere love. Shmecha v'hei baracha, your name will be a blessing." And I hope this will be something special for you guys. So please, we'll go to some music, we'll drink l'chaim, and we'll have dessert, and we thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next year. But here's the one last thing. David would want me to do this. Every one of you is invited to come to one of the Kravitzes for Shabbos. So I want you, in memory of David, in his legacy, to raise your hand. Who wants to come to one of the Kravitzes for a Shabbos lunch or meal? Look at all these hands that are going up. So all of you are invited. Please contact us. The information's on the back. And have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the dessert. Thank you very much.
Stay with the same stuff. Like symptom music?
Nisim v'yalla purkan v'yalla gvuros v'yalla Jews v'yalla mechamos